The sensor array blinked red 3 times before anyone noticed. Taileyes was running diagnostics on the waste recycler when the alarm chirped, soft and insistent. He pulled himself through the corridor using the handholds, his 4 arms making the journey quick despite the cramped space of the survey vessel. Rella floated near the main console, her breathing apparatus humming quietly. She studied the readings with growing confusion. Something massive drifted 2,000 kilometers off their port side, tumbling slowly through the void. The computer refused to identify it. "What am I looking at?" Rella asked. Taileyes checked the scan twice. Unknown vessel, dead in space but still generating a power signature. Minimal, maybe emergency batteries. Out here, Rella's tendrils twitched with concern. They were 3 weeks past the nearest registered trade route, surveying mineral deposits on lifeless rocks. Nothing should be out here except them and empty space. The Harmony's light changed course, closing distance carefully. As they approached, the vessel resolved on their visual screens. Taileyes felt his circulation slow. The ship was wrong. Every civilization in the galaxy built vessels that curved, that flowed with grace and efficiency. This thing was all angles and brutal function. Armor plating covered every surface, scarred by impacts that should have torn through any hull. Weapon scoring marked the flanks. Burns from atmospheric entry blackened sections, near what might have been thrusters. "It survived a war," Taileyes whispered. "Or it started one," Rella replied. She triggered the communications array, broadcasting standard greetings in 40 languages. Silence answered. She tried emergency frequencies. Nothing. The ship's registry appeared on their scanner after Taileyes ran it through every database in known space. UNSS Wanderer. The designation meant nothing. The nation code was blank, but the system of origin made both of them freeze. Zone 7. The quarantine sector, the region the Galactic Council declared forbidden 3 centuries ago. "We should report this," Taileyes said. "We should," Rella agreed, but she was already plotting an approach vector. "After we investigate." They suited up, though Taileyes noticed Rella chose the heavy environmental suit instead of standard EVA gear. Smart. If Zone 7 produced this vessel, who knew what contamination it might carry? The airlock cycled with a hiss that sounded like screaming metal. Inside, the Wanderer was dark except for dim emergency lighting that cast everything in red shadows. The temperature read 15 degrees below what most species considered survivable. Frost covered the walls. Their breath crystallized in clouds. "Atmosphere is breathable," Taileyes reported, reading his scanner. "Mostly, high oxygen content, 23%. "That would kill most species," Rella said. "It would make them euphoric first, then kill them," Taileyes corrected. "This ship was built for something that breathes poison." They moved through corridors barely wide enough for 2 people. Every surface served a purpose. Handholds every meter. Emergency supply lockers built into the walls every 10 meters. Radiation shielding thick enough to build a station. Medical stations in every major junction, stocked with supplies Taileyes recognized and many he did not. "They expected disaster constantly," Rella observed. "This is a survival bunker that happens to fly." The bridge was small and efficient. 5 seats, all equipped with restraint harnesses that looked brutal. The consoles were labeled in a script Taileyes had never seen, but the universal symbols for propulsion, navigation, and life support were clear enough. Someone had written notes on several panels in what looked like dried blood. Quick calculations, emergency procedures, desperate reminders. Taileyes found the black box behind a panel marked with symbols he interpreted as warnings. He extracted it carefully, connecting it to his portable terminal. The data was fragmented, corrupted by radiation and time, but enough remained. The Wanderer was a support vessel for a colony ship called the Providence. 73 colonists fleeing some catastrophe in Zone 7, searching for a new home. The Providence suffered a catastrophic drive failure. The Wanderer, with a crew of 12, stayed behind to effect repairs while the colony ship drifted toward the nearest system on emergency power. Then everything went wrong. A solar flare, a meteor swarm, system failures cascading faster than the crew could compensate. The Providence vanished from sensors. The Wanderer's crew spent 2 years crossing uncharted space, repairing their vessel with salvaged materials, surviving on quarter rations, searching for any trace of the colony ship or any inhabited system that might help. Tail Eyes read the medical logs and felt his breathing stop. The crew suffered radiation exposure that should have killed them in hours. They walked it off. Infections from contaminated water that could dissolve tissue. They recovered. Injuries from hull breaches and equipment failures that would cripple most species permanently. They healed. "What kind of world produces people like this?" he asked. Rella was studying a star chart on the main screen. She traced a line back through the data, calculating origin points. According to this, their home world is in the center of Zone 7, a planet they call Earth, third from a yellow star. "We need to report this," Tail Eyes said again. "We need to check the cryobay first," Rella said. They found it in the lower deck. 6 cryopods, their power cells nearly depleted. 5 were empty, their occupants lost to time or circumstance. The 6th showed green lights, occupied, stable, a human in suspended animation, waiting for rescue that took 2 years to arrive. Tail Eyes checked the pod systems. "Life signs are strong, we could wake her." "That would be a violation of first contact protocols," Rella said, but she was already initializing the revival sequence. Sometimes protocols matter less than doing what is right. The pod hissed, releasing pressure. Frost sublimated into mist. Inside, a human woman opened her eyes. They were brown, warm, and completely exhausted. She coughed once, twice, then spoke in a voice rough from disuse. "Did you find the Providence?" Tail Eyes felt something in his chest tighten. 2 years in cryosleep, waking on an alien ship surrounded by unknown species, and her first concern was for others. What kind of people were these humans? What kind of world made them this way? Bate Carter sat in the medical bay, wrapped in a thermal blanket that did almost nothing against the cold she felt in her bones. 2 years of cryosleep left her muscles weak and her mind fuzzy, but training kept her focused. She answered every question the aliens asked, studying them as much as they studied her. The tall one called Rella had skin that shifted colors with her moods, blues and greens rippling across her surface. The 4-armed one named Tail Eyes never stopped moving, always checking scanners or adjusting equipment. Both wore expressions Bate recognized despite their alien features: concern, curiosity, fear. "The Providence carried 73 people," Bate said for the 3rd time. "Families, children. We were searching for a colony site in the Kepler systems when the drive failed. My crew stayed behind to repair the Wanderer while the colony ship drifted on emergency power. We were supposed to catch up within weeks." "That was over 2 years ago," Rella said gently. Bate already knew. The pod's internal chronometer told her everything. 2 years, 3 months, 17 days. She had failed. The thought sat in her chest like ice. "I need to access the Wanderer's long-range sensors," Bate said. She tried to stand and her legs buckled. Tail Eyes caught her with 2 arms while the other 2 reached for medical equipment. "You need rest," he said. "I need to find my people." Bate pushed against his grip. Tail Eyes was stronger than he looked, but she was stubborn. "Either help me or get out of my way." Rella made a sound like wind through crystals. Laughter, Bate guessed. "She sounds like a captain." "Chief engineer," Bate corrected. "But I was ranking officer when we lost contact with the Providence. That made it my responsibility." They helped her to the bridge. Bate moved through the Wanderer like greeting an old friend, running her hands over consoles she had rebuilt a dozen times, checking systems by instinct. The ship was cold and dead, but the Harmony's light had connected auxiliary power. enough to run basic operations. Bate pulled up the navigation logs and started plotting vectors. The aliens watched her work with fascination that might have been amusing under different circumstances. She explained as she went, partly to organize her thoughts, and partly because talking helped fight the exhaustion. The Providence had enough battery power for 3 months of life support and minimal thrust. They would have aimed for the nearest system with terraforming potential. That gives us a search radius of approximately 40 light-years, accounting for drift and course corrections. That is an impossible area to search, Talai said. Then we better get started. Bate expanded the star chart, highlighting possible destinations. 17 systems met the criteria. She started running probability calculations based on fuel efficiency, radiation levels, and gravitational assists. You are in no condition to travel, Rella said. I am in perfect condition to do my job. Bate pulled up the engineering reports from the Wanderer's final voyage. My crew kept this ship running for 2 years on ration packs and recycled water. We mined asteroids for raw materials and rebuilt the heat exchangers from salvaged components. I can handle a little muscle fatigue. Taileyes checked his scanner and his eyes widened. Your heart rate is elevated. Your body temperature is above normal range. You should be resting, not working. This is resting. Bate isolated 3 systems most likely to support the Providence. On Earth, we call this a light-duty shift. Earth, Rella repeated, your home world in Zone 7. Bate glanced at her. You know about the quarantine. The Galactic Council declared your region off-limits 3 centuries ago. Too much stellar radiation. Too many spatial anomalies. It was deemed unsurvivable. Well, we survived. Bate brought up medical records knowing they would ask eventually, better to control the narrative. Humans evolved on a planet that tried very hard to kill us. Earthquakes, volcanoes, ice ages, predators, diseases. We adapted. Talai studied the medical data with growing alarm. Your species has redundant organs. Your blood cells carry oxygen with efficiency we have only seen in extreme high-altitude specialists. Your immune system attacks threats we would not even recognize as dangerous. Like I said, we adapted. Bate highlighted a system 41 light-years from the Wanderer's current position. This one, the Providence, would have gone here. Binary star system with 3 terrestrial planets in the habitable zone, good mineral deposits, low radiation. That system is in Zone 7, Rella said. Most of my search radius is in Zone 7, Bates said. Your people avoid it. Mine call it home. Rella and Taileyes exchanged looks that needed no translation. They were debating something. Finally, Rella spoke. If we enter Zone 7 without council authorization, we could lose our survey license, possibly face criminal charges. Then drop me at the nearest station, and I will find another way. Bates started downloading the navigation data to a portable drive. I am not asking you to risk your careers. I am asking you to point me towards someone who can help. You can barely walk, Talai said. I will manage. You would die before giving up, would you not? Rella asked. Bate met her eyes. 73 people trusted me to get them home. Families trusted me with their children. I do not get to give up because things got difficult. Rella was silent for a long moment. Then she moved to the helm controls. Taileyes, calculate a jump to that binary system. Maximum efficiency. We may need the extra fuel. Captain, this is against. I know what it is against. Rella's skin shifted to determined orange. I also know what it means to have responsibility for lives that depend on you. We are going to help Bate find her people. Bate felt something release in her chest. Thank you. Do not thank me yet, Rella said. Zone 7 earned its reputation. If your Providence survived there for 2 years, your people are either very lucky or very dangerous. Bate smiled for the first time since waking. We are human. We are both. The jump to the binary system took 6 days. Bates spent the time rebuilding her strength and teaching Rella's crew how to navigate Zone 7. She pulled up charts that made Tail Eyes nervous, showing radiation belts and gravitational eddies that would tear most ships apart. "You fly through this regularly?" he asked, watching Bate plot a course through what looked like a death trap. "We call these the safe routes," Bates said. She highlighted a path that wove between 2 radiation storms and skirted a collapsed star remnant. "The dangerous routes are faster but require better shielding." Rella studied the navigation data with growing respect. "Your people mapped all of this." "Had to. Zone 7 is home to 4 human colony systems and 217 mining operations. We go where the resources are, regardless of what is in the way." Bate zoomed in on the binary system. "This area should be relatively calm. The stars are stable and the asteroid density is low." They dropped out of jump space to a scene of devastation. Debris scattered across thousands of kilometers, hull fragments, destroyed equipment, pieces of what had been the Providence broken and frozen. Bates stared at the screen, her face carefully blank. Tail Eyes recognized the expression. He had seen it on soldiers who refused to acknowledge pain while still standing. "Life signs," Bates said quietly. "Check for life signs." Tail Eyes ran every scanner they had. Most of the debris was dead metal, but deeper in the field something pinged. Faint, inconsistent, but there. "I have a power signature," he said. "Bearing 273, range 18,000 kilometers." Bate was already moving toward the airlock. Rella caught her arm. "We do not know what is out there." "I know exactly what is out there," Bate said. "Standard emergency protocol for a catastrophic hull breach. Evacuate to the nearest stable surface and establish shelters using survival pods. That power signature is my people." "The nearest stable surface is a rogue planetoid," Tail Eyes said, pulling up the scan. "Sulfur dioxide atmosphere. Surface temperature ranging from -40 to +70 Celsius. Seismic activity every 6 hours. It is barely holding together." "Then they will be happy to leave." Bate pulled free and started checking EVA suits. She rejected 3 before finding one built to Rella's species specifications, close enough to human requirements. "I am going down there." "Not alone," Rella said. "Tail Eyes prepare a landing team." "Captain, the environmental hazards." "I am aware." Rella began suiting up. "Which is why we are bringing someone who considers this normal." The descent was everything Tail Eyes feared. The planetoid's gravity was unstable, pulling them in unexpected directions. Sulfur geysers erupted without warning, forcing their shuttle to dodge plumes of superheated gas. The surface was a nightmare landscape of cracked rock and frozen lakes of methane. Bate guided them through it all with casual expertise that terrified Tail Eyes more than the hazards themselves. She pointed out safe landing zones, predicted geyser eruptions based on minor tremors, and explained which temperature readings actually mattered versus which were normal fluctuations. "There," she said, indicating a cluster of structures half buried in volcanic rock. "Emergency shelters, standard configuration." They landed 50 meters away. Bate was first out of the shuttle, moving across the unstable surface with careful steps. She knocked on the nearest shelter's airlock in a pattern: 3 short, 2 long, 3 short. The airlock cycled. A man emerged, thin and exhausted, his eyes widening at the sight of aliens. Then he saw Bate and his face transformed. "Chief Carter," he said, his voice breaking, "we thought you were dead." "Takes more than that," Bates said. She pulled him into a hug that looked gentle but Tail Eyes suspected was anything but. "Status report. 47 survivors. We lost 26 in the initial crash. The rest held on. It has been 14 months." 14 months on a dying planetoid. Tail Eyes could not imagine it. "What did you eat?" The man, who introduced himself as Robert, gave a tired laugh. "Processed sulfur bacteria. filtered water from the methane lakes, grew some algae in the shelters using heat from the geothermal vents. It was not good, but it was enough. Bait moved through the shelters, checking on each survivor. Taileyes and Rella followed, documenting everything. The humans had turned 5 emergency pods into a functioning habitat. They recycled air, purified toxic water, and even maintained a small garden of earth plants that somehow survived in the harsh conditions. Children played in one shelter, their laughter strange in such a grim place. An elderly woman tended the garden with care. A young couple worked on repairing a water filtration system using parts scavenged from the Providence wreckage. "They are not just surviving," Rella whispered. "They are living." "That is what we do," Bates said. She was helping a child who had scraped her knee, cleaning the wound with supplies from her kit. When everything goes wrong, humans find a way forward. We always have. The evacuation took 12 hours. 47 colonists, all their salvaged equipment, and even some of the plants from the garden. They filled the Harmony's light beyond capacity. Humans doubled up in crew quarters, children slept in the cargo bay on makeshift beds, and everyone adapted without complaint. Taileyes watched a human family sharing a meal of the ship's standard rations. They ate with gratitude that seemed disproportionate to the bland nutrition paste. Then he remembered they had survived on processed bacteria for over a year. Perspective, he realized, was relative. Bate found Rella on the bridge that night. "Thank you for all of this." "I did what anyone would do," Rella said. "No," Bates said. "You did what very few would do. You risked your career, your ship, and your crew for strangers from a quarantined world. That is not common. That is exceptional." Rella's skin shifted to pleased purple. "Where will you go now?" "Central Station," Bates said. "We need to report to someone, and I suspect the Galactic Council will want to meet the humans from Earth." "That worries you." Bates smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "My people survived our home world. We survived deep space. We survived a colony ship disaster. The Galactic Council, that might be our biggest challenge yet." Central Station hung in space like a geometric flower, its 100 docking arms reaching toward ships from every corner of the galaxy. Bate pressed her face against the observation window, watching the structure grow larger as they approached. Behind her, the Providence survivors gathered in small groups, nervous and excited. "It is beautiful," said a girl named Amy, no more than 8 years old. She had been born on Earth but barely remembered it. "It is intimidating," corrected her mother, Patricia. "Remember what Bates said. Speak politely. Answer questions honestly. Do not mention the incident with the sulfur geyser." Bates smiled despite her nerves. The sulfur geyser incident had resulted in 3 colonists getting temporarily trapped, but ultimately fine after Robert engineered a rescue using a piece of hull plating and some creative physics. To humans, it was a minor adventure. To aliens, it would probably sound insane. The Galactic Council had sent 14 messages in the past 2 days, all polite, all increasingly insistent. They wanted to meet the humans immediately upon arrival. They wanted medical scans. They wanted cultural assessments. They wanted to understand how a species from a quarantined Deathworld had survived circumstances that should have killed them several times over. Docking procedures took an hour. Station officials met them at the airlock, their expressions carefully neutral. Bate noticed the security presence. Not hostile, but definitely cautious. She could not blame them. The interview chambers were designed to be welcoming, with soft lighting and comfortable furniture that adjusted to different body types. Bate sat in one room with 3 council representatives, while the other survivors were distributed among various assessment teams. She had insisted on this. Better she face the difficult questions alone. The council members introduced themselves. Prelate Anthar, a crystalline being whose facets reflected rainbow light. Administrator Quilvin, who resembled a terrestrial octopus but with too many tentacles. Dr. Wes, bird-like and quick, her feathers rustling with curiosity. "Please understand," Anthar began. "We mean no offense with our questions. Your species is unknown to us. Zone 7 has been quarantined for 300 years. "I understand," Bates said. "Ask whatever you need." "Why did humans settle in Zone 7? Quilvin asked. "We did not settle there," Bates said. "We evolved there. Earth is our home world. We did not choose the location any more than you chose yours." Wes leaned forward. "But Earth is in the center of the most hostile region in known space. Radiation levels that would sterilize most planets. Spatial anomalies that tear ships apart. How does complex life survive there?" Bate considered her answer carefully. "Earth has challenges, strong tectonic activity, extreme weather patterns, high background radiation in some regions, but life adapts. It always has." "Your medical scans show adaptations we have never seen," Wes continued. She displayed images that Bate recognized as her own cellular structure. "Redundant organ systems, radiation resistance, healing capabilities that border on impossible. Your bones are reinforced with mineral density we only see in extreme gravity species, yet Earth's gravity is standard." "Earth has strong predators," Bates said. "Our ancestors needed durable skeletons to survive falls and impacts. Evolution favored those who could take damage and keep moving." "You speak of evolution as warfare," Anthar observed. "I speak of it as reality," Bate corrected gently. "Every world has selection pressures. Earth's were simply more direct." The questioning continued for hours. They asked about human culture, technology, social structures, and military capabilities. Bate answered honestly, watching their reactions. When she described Earth's wildlife, Quilvin's tentacles tightened with alarm. When she explained standard childhood education included survival training, Wes made distressed chirping sounds. When she mentioned humans regularly consumed plants and fungi that would poison most species, Anthar's light dimmed noticeably. "You eat toxins recreationally?" Quilvin asked. "We call them spices," Bates said. "They make food taste better. But they are poisonous." "Not to us. Our digestive systems evolved to handle a wide range of compounds. It gives us flexibility in food sources." Wes consulted her notes. "One of your colonists, an elderly male named George, recovered from a bacterial infection in 3 days. That particular pathogen is considered fatal to most species. We have no cure for it." "George has a strong immune system," Bates said. "Most humans do. We evolved alongside countless pathogens on Earth. Our bodies learned to fight them." "Your species weaponized your own biology," Anthar said quietly. "No," Bates said firmly. "We survived our biology. There is a difference. Humans did not choose to be radiation-resistant or toxin-tolerant. We simply are. The ones who were not did not have children." The mood in the room shifted. Bate recognized the expression on their faces, fear masquerading as caution. "You think we are dangerous," she said. "We think you could be," Anthar admitted. "A species that survives by being harder to kill than everything around them. That describes predators, conquerors." Bate stood, moving to the window that overlooked the station's central garden. Families of a dozen species walked there, children playing under artificial sunlight. "Do you know what we did on that planetoid for 14 months?" she asked. "We could have fought over resources, hoarded supplies, abandoned the weak to save the strong. Instead, we shared. George, the man with the strong immune system, gave extra rations to the children. Patricia taught everyone her water purification techniques, even though it reduced her own value to the group. Robert spent weeks repairing equipment for others before fixing his own shelter." She turned back to face them. "Yes, Earth made us resilient. It made us hard to kill. But it also made us understand the value of cooperation. When everything is trying to kill you, you learn that the only way to survive is together. Humans did not conquer Earth. We endured it. And we learned that survival is sweeter when shared." The room was silent. Then Wes spoke, her voice soft. That is a beautiful philosophy. It is a practical one, Bates said. We would like to share it with the galaxy if you will let us. The council debate lasted 3 days. Bate and the other humans remained on Central Station while diplomats argued their fate behind closed doors. Some wanted immediate quarantine of Earth. Others proposed limited contact. A few suggested full integration. Bate spent the time exploring the station with Amy and some of the other children. Their wandering attracted attention. Humans were novelties, creatures from a forbidden zone, and everywhere they went, aliens stared. Amy did not seem to notice. She pressed her nose against windows showing alien gardens, gasped at the bioluminescent creatures in the aquarium sections, and asked questions with the fearless curiosity of childhood. When a Quilvan merchant offered her a piece of fruit from his homeworld, she accepted it with thanks and bit in before anyone could stop her. Bate watched in horror as the child chewed thoughtfully. That fruit was mildly toxic to most species, not fatal, but enough to cause discomfort. It is sweet, Amy said, like mango but with a spicy finish. The merchant's tentacles went rigid with shock. You can taste the capsaicin compounds. Is that the spicy part? Amy took another bite. I like it. Word spread. The human child who ate toxic fruit and enjoyed it. Bate fielded questions from concerned station officials while trying not to laugh. In the grand scheme of things, Amy's adventure was harmless, but it reinforced the growing narrative. Humans were different. That evening, Rella found Bate in the observation deck, watching ships come and go. The council has made a decision, she said. Bate felt her stomach tighten, and they want to visit Earth, see your homeworld for themselves before making final contact protocols. Rella's skin shifted to sympathetic blue. I volunteered to pilot the delegation ship. You did. Someone should be there who knows humans are not monsters, Rella said. Someone who saw you risk everything to save your people. I thought that someone should be me. Bate felt gratitude well up. Thank you. I have conditions, Rella continued. I want you as my guide. The council wants scientific assessment, but I want human context. Someone who can explain why things are the way they are. I can do that, Bates said. When do we leave? Tomorrow. The council chose 8 representatives. Scientists, diplomats, even a military observer. They want comprehensive understanding. The journey to Earth took 2 weeks through Zone 7's treacherous space. Bate navigated, teaching the delegation's pilot how to read radiation patterns and predict spatial anomalies. Halfway through, they encountered a human mining vessel extracting platinum from an asteroid belt inside an active radiation storm. The delegation watched in amazement as human miners worked in conditions that should have killed them. Their ships shielded but not sealed. Their casual efficiency suggesting this was routine work. They are mining in a radiation storm, Anthar said, his light flickering with distress. The radiation makes the minerals easier to extract, Bate explained. Breaks down the molecular bonds. Humans have been doing this for 2 centuries. But the exposure is monitored and managed. Those miners rotate shifts, take supplements, and get regular medical checks. It is dangerous work, but humans have been doing dangerous work since we climbed down from the trees. When Earth finally appeared on their screens, the delegation fell silent. Blue oceans covered 70% of the surface. Green continents showed forests and grasslands. White clouds swirled in patterns that spoke of active weather systems. It looked peaceful, beautiful. Preliminary scans show extreme tectonic activity, Wes reported, her voice uncertain. Fault lines cover the major continents. Volcanic regions are active. The magnetic field fluctuates significantly. That is normal, Bates said. Earth is geologically young, still settling. The atmosphere contains 21% oxygen, Quilvan added. That is toxic levels. That is breathable levels, Bate corrected, for humans. They landed at a designated contact site on the coast of what Bate called the Pacific Ocean. Human officials met them, dressed in formal clothing that somehow still looked practical. The delegation noticed immediately that every human carried emergency supplies, small kits on their belts or in pockets, ready for disaster. Director Hansen led the tour. She was a woman in her 60s with gray hair and eyes that had seen trouble and survived it. She welcomed the delegation warmly and then proceeded to terrify them with casual honesty. "This region averages 3 earthquakes per week," she said, guiding them through a research facility. "Mostly minor. We built everything to flex and absorb the shock. You learn to work around it." In the medical wing, they met Dr. Lee, who explained human healing with enthusiasm that bordered on pride. "We can recover from broken bones in weeks, regrow damaged tissue. Our immune systems fight off infections faster than most antibiotics. Evolution gave us a remarkable toolkit." The delegation watched footage of extreme weather, hurricanes that would destroy cities, tornadoes that appeared without warning, blizzards that buried entire regions. Humans responded with preparation and adaptation, building structures that withstood the forces and communities that supported each other through crisis. "You live in constant danger," Anthar said quietly. "We live in constant change," Hansen corrected. "Danger is relative. Yes, Earth has challenges, but it also has beauty, diversity, life in abundance because it adapted to survive." They visited a school where children learned geology by studying local rock formations, mathematics through calculating emergency supplies, biology by understanding the ecosystem that sustained them. Every lesson connected to survival, but also to wonder. Amy, who had joined the tour, showed the delegation her class project. A garden of earth plants, each one carefully tended. Some were edible, some were medicinal, some were simply beautiful. "This one is called a rose," she said, pointing to a red flower. "It has thorns to protect itself, but if you are careful, you can enjoy the bloom. My teacher says that is like Earth. Dangerous if you do not respect it, beautiful if you do." Wes reached out, carefully avoiding the thorns, and touched the petals. "It is lovely." "Everything on Earth is like that," Amy said seriously. "Even us. We can be dangerous, but mostly we just want to grow and bloom and share our garden with others." The delegation exchanged glances. In that moment, in the words of a child, they understood what they had been missing. Earth did not make humans into weapons. It made them into gardeners, carefully tending life in harsh soil. The final council session took place in the Grand Chamber, where representatives from 200 civilizations gathered to vote on humanity's fate. Bates sat in the observation gallery with the Providence survivors, watching as their future hung in balance. Arguments flew across the chamber floor. Some delegates praised human resilience and adaptability. Others warned of the danger a Deathworld species posed to galactic peace. The military observer presented data on human physical capabilities, their ability to survive in hostile environments, their remarkable recovery from injury. His tone was neutral, but the implications were clear. Then Anthar rose to speak. His crystalline form caught the light, sending rainbow patterns across the chamber. "I have spent 2 weeks on Earth," he said. "I have seen their world, studied their culture, spoken with their people, and I have reached a conclusion." The chamber fell silent. Earth is indeed a death world by our standards. Its inhabitants are resilient beyond our normal experience. They possess capabilities we would consider superhuman. Anthar paused. "But I have also seen human children share food with strangers, watched human miners risk their lives to rescue a colleague trapped in a collapsed tunnel, witnessed a human doctor work for 30 hours straight to save a patient from a disease we consider incurable." He turned to face the gallery where Bates sat. "The question before us is not whether humans are dangerous. The question is whether we are wise enough to recognize the difference between strength and threat. Humans did not choose to be strong. They chose to be kind despite their strength. That is worthy of respect. Wes spoke next, her feathers ruffled with emotion. I examined human children. Do you know what I found? They play games that teach cooperation. They learn to share resources before they learn advanced mathematics. Their stories celebrate heroes who protect the weak, not conquerors who dominate the strong. Quilvin added his voice. Human technology is impressive, but not overwhelmingly advanced. What sets them apart is not their weapons, but their medicine. They have treatments for diseases we cannot cure, techniques for healing we never imagined. They develop these not to harm, but to preserve life in an environment that constantly threatened it. The debate continued for hours. Finally, the vote was called. Bate held her breath, aware of the colonists around her doing the same. Hands and tentacles and appendages of every description rose in voting gestures. The result was close but clear. Earth would be welcomed into the galactic community with full contact protocols. Humanity would have a voice in the council, rights to trade and travel, and access to the greater galaxy. Bate felt tears on her face and did not wipe them away. Around her, colonists embraced, laughing and crying. They had survived Earth, survived deep space, survived a colony ship disaster. And now they would become part of something larger than themselves. 6 months later, Bate stood on the bridge of the Wanderer, watching as the ship undocked from Central Station. The old vessel had been repaired and upgraded with the best technology the galaxy could offer. New engines, better shields, advanced sensors, but the core remained the same, a survivor like her crew. "Ready for departure, Chief," said Robert from the engineering station. He had joined her permanently, along with 12 other Providence survivors. They wore the new uniform of the Human Liaison Corps, a service created to bridge the gap between Earth and the galaxy. "Plot a course for the Vega system," Bate ordered. "We have a colony to establish." This would be different from the Providence mission. This time they had support, resources, knowledge of what lay ahead, but more importantly, they had purpose. Humans had something unique to offer the galaxy, and Bate intended to share it. They traveled with a fleet of mixed species. Scientists eager to learn human survival techniques, engineers studying human design principles, doctors hopping to understand human medicine, and families, both human and alien, ready to build something new together. The first test came 3 weeks into the journey. A solar flare erupted without warning, sending radiation washing across their path. Most of the fleet veered away, seeking shelter behind a nearby moon. The Wanderer flew straight through. "Radiation levels are high but manageable," Bate reported calmly to the fleet commander. "We will maintain course and meet you on the other side." They emerged unscathed, while alien ships detected their passage with amazement. What had seemed like recklessness was simply human normal. The colony itself was a revelation. Humans worked alongside aliens, teaching and learning in equal measure. Human engineers showed how to build structures that flexed with seismic activity. Alien architects demonstrated designs that minimized resource use. Human doctors shared trauma treatment protocols. Alien physicians offered genetic therapies humans had never imagined. Children played together in the colony's central park, human and alien mixing without the prejudice of their elders. Bate watched them and smiled. This was the future. Not humans conquering the galaxy, but humans enriching it. Years passed. The Wanderer became a legend, the ship that proved Deathworlders were not monsters but partners. Bate trained new crews, teaching them the lessons learned on Earth: how to survive the unsurvivable, how to adapt to any challenge, how to find hope in the darkest moments. When asked what made humans special, she always gave the same answer. "We are not special because we are strong. We are special because we learned that strength without compassion is just violence. Earth taught us to be hard enough to survive and soft enough to care. That is what we bring to the galaxy. Not conquest, not domination, just the stubborn insistence that survival is better when everyone survives together." The Wanderer sailed on, carrying its message across the stars. Behind it, Earth continued to send its children out into the void. Explorers and healers, engineers and teachers, humans who had survived a death world and chose to use that strength to protect rather than dominate. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of hope. And humanity, those strange beings from Zone 7, proved that even the harshest environments could forge the gentlest hearts. They had found their place among the stars, not as conquerors but as gardeners, carefully tending life wherever they went. The Deathworld vessel belonged to Earth, but its mission belonged to everyone.